In the previous section, Lu Feng and Luo were heading towards a certain place, which turned out to be the gathering spot for the best awakeners. Naturally, this surprised Luo. Why would that man take her to this place? One thing is for sure, Lu Feng was planning something. What plan is that? Let's start the story. The place that serves as the center of trade for awakeners looked very bustling, resembling a market. A bald seller was offering rare items that had just been shipped from the shadow world. He guaranteed that people wouldn't feel cheated after seeing his goods. Lu Feng picked up a cube and asked for the price of the magic cube. The seller explained that it was a unique level a mechanical cube in the market. Typically, the lowest price for a level item is 800,000 awakener coins, but he would let Lu Feng have the cube for 100,000. Nevertheless, Lu Feng still considered that price very high as he thought the cube was merely a decoration. The merchant said everyone was lucky, they would give a 10% discount, and the lowest price was 90,000 won. Lu Feng, not understanding, asked what that meant. The seller explained that it was 100,000 awakening coins, then he would allow Lu Feng to open the cube once. If he succeeded in opening it, the cube would be given to Lu Feng for free. So, with a cold demeanor, Lu Feng asked Luo to give the seller 101, with the beautiful girl by his side sending the required amount, making the seller smile happily. Because if the young man in front of him failed, the money wouldn't come back. Moreover, he knew hundreds of people had tried it, and even some national-level cube experts had come, but they still hadn't solved the cube. But unexpectedly for the seller, Lu Feng managed to understand the cube and opened its system to reveal a very complicated depiction. Everyone around the place was amazed to see the key to the treasure trove in the shadow world. They believed the cube was worth an S-level item. The seller immediately panicked and wanted the cube back because, for something of high value, he wouldn't sell it even for the initial 1,000 awakener coins. But Lu Feng dodged and refused to give the cube back. Now he knew the seller was indeed cheating. Moreover, the bald seller didn't see who paid, namely the goddess Luo, who could complain and revoke the awakener license from the seller. Luo coughed slightly as a sign that she was watching the bald seller. Now the seller gave an excuse that the goddess's lover just misunderstood. He didn't mean to be deceitful to both of them. The two of them chose to leave the seller's products after getting what they wanted. Luo then asked if the young man beside her still had a hidden job from the Rubik's master. Lu Feng just answered that a long time was very boring, so the cube was one of the tools to pass the time. He didn't expect it would become so important. Then Rose asked if the young man never had a definite job, was there a secret behind it? Lu Feng replied that he couldn't answer that for now because they had something very important to do next. Luo was a little annoyed because earlier, she was only told to buy and pay. Sure enough, next, Luo was repeatedly asked to pay for several low-level items desired by Lu Feng. Among these items were a B-level Night Wolf pistol, C-level Alpha Mutation pills, C-level Finger Tiger military equipment, and there was also a B-level Yu Hao dagger. Luo complained because there were so many items the young man wanted, she couldn't stand it anymore. People were stiff with admiration seeing the young man so cool that he could make the goddess fulfill all his wishes and pay for whatever he wanted. They truly couldn't believe that an arrogant girl like the goddess Luo had a mind filled only with love. Walking behind Lu Feng, the girl asked what the young man intended to do by buying so many items at once. Lu Feng just replied that the girl would soon find out. Suddenly their steps were blocked by a group of men. A bespectacled man greeted the goddess Luo and said it had been a long time. He was surprised that the goddess didn't inform him when she was going to the city. With an innocent face, Luo asked who the young man was. The red-haired youth angrily declared that he was Wang Meng, the vice president of the Huo Guild, and the girl had met their previous president before. Luo fell silent. Then she explained that she didn't remember the group ranked less than the top 100 in the world. So the girl said she didn't remember the group and never felt like talking to Huo Jai. Wang Meng immediately became angry. He said he just wanted to ask the goddess what was wrong with their president. How could the girl be interested in a man who only knew how to spend his money? And seeing Lu Feng's taste, the young man only bought some B and C level trash. He accused Lu Feng of being accustomed to living poorly, so he didn't know how to buy expensive items when someone was willing to treat him. But it turned out, the couple had left earlier. They completely ignored Wang Meng. Lu Feng, while embracing the waist of the goddess Luo, seemed to be mocking Wang Meng. It turned out that representatives from the Acqq Guild had also come to the place for the auction. The host gave a welcoming speech, saying they would now hold a private auction for 15 minutes before the official auction. The promoter of this impromptu auction was Miss Lu, commonly known as Rose, with a Black Awakener license. If anyone was interested, they were welcome to choose their seats. People speculated that the goddess would auction her private collection. They thought a woman in love usually loses her intelligence to the point of sacrificing everything. Representatives from the Acqq Guild certainly didn't want to miss this opportunity and quickly chose their seats. As the auction began, Lu Feng stepped onto the stage, greeting all the visitors to the private auction of the goddess Luo. He also thanked the leaders of the 2 major guilds who were present virtually at the venue. Lu Feng explained that the organizers gave them limited time so the House of Cut's private collection of the goddess Luo would soon be revealed. The first item was the Yu Hao dagger. Everyone immediately became angry seeing such trash being brought out for auction. Even Wang Meng accused Lu Feng of really wanting to embarrass the goddess by exposing it. The representative of the Icebreaker Guild, was not interested in such useless items and turned off his broadcast. Some people even stood up immediately because they didn't want to waste their time on such a useless auction. Lu Feng took the dagger and explained that everyone should know that shadow items have a certain possibility of having hidden attributes. They should consider themselves lucky because all the items auctioned today were treasures with hidden attribute qualities. Wang Meng immediately stood up upon realizing hidden attributes were very rare. How did the young man get it? Suddenly Lu Feng disappeared from the stage, making everyone shocked, even standing up and wondering how the young man could disappear like that in front of them. Lu Feng appeared right behind Wang Meng, aiming the dagger right at his neck. Lu Feng explained that the hidden attribute of the dagger was to allow the user to hide in the shadow for 1.5 seconds. The hidden attribute could be activated 6 times. Lu Feng was sure everyone understood the significance of 1.5 seconds in battle, especially for awakener professions like assassins. Now everyone knew how perfect and valuable it was, especially since the dagger could be used 5 times and could save several lives. Some people immediately became interested in buying it. After his successful approach, Lu Feng immediately distanced himself from Wang Meng. He stated that if people wanted to purchase his items, they had to participate in the auction and bid, so everyone had to follow the auction rules. Moreover, since it was only the first collection, it was certainly heavily discounted. The initial auction for practice was opened with a price of Rp 100, 0 awakening coins. Everyone immediately cheered, offering the prices they could afford to obtain the dagger. Senior Lin, who was observing the auction, was amazed by Lu Feng's abilities. He found the man terrifying. Wang Meng himself was stunned because the youth possessed a unique artifact for the assassin job in his group. However, he had just mocked Lu Feng, so he considered it too embarrassing to participate in Lu Feng's auction. If he had to starve to death, he would choose to jump from the top floor rather than buy Lu Feng's item. After a bid of 5 million, 3 times without anyone daring to bid higher, Lu Feng hammered the gavel and announced that he congratulated one of the guild bosses who had successfully taken the Yui dagger. Wang Meng cursed inwardly, shocked that someone was willing to buy the item at such a high price. He felt foolish for letting a treasure slip right before his eyes. On the other side, Luo and Rosie could only wonder who the young man was. He could turn a stack of items from a street stall into very high prices. Lu Feng announced the second item he would auction, the wind block. The green cloak was a Class C item capable of increasing attack speed by 1%. The audience was surprised as the value of the auctioned items decreased. Even the cloak looked ordinary, they were curious if it had hidden attributes. Lu Feng took the cloak and stated that he didn't want to sell it because its hidden attribute was active every 3 hours for 10 seconds, enabling the wearer to see spirits within bodies. He asked the audience to guess how much it could enhance survival in the shadow world with a high death rate. Since it was very useful for the swordsmaster's job, he set the initial price at 1 million won. Everyone became enthusiastic because every group had a swordsmaster. People began offering the prices they could afford, fighting passionately to obtain the cloak. Eventually, Granny Lin gave a considerably high price of 15 million won. The other players fell silent, realizing how wealthy Granny Lin was. They now knew how rich the people from the Huixin Guild were. However, according to Senior Lin, it was too cruel to sell a Class C item at an S-Class price. Nevertheless, when no one dared to bid higher on the third announcement, Lu Feng agreed to sell the cloak for 15 million. He also congratulated Granny Lin for successfully acquiring it. A man from the Huo Guild was impressed because the young man not only caught the goddess's attention but also managed to buy items from cheap stalls and sell them for high prices in an instant. According to him, Lu Feng was the true winner in life. Meanwhile, Wang Meng was fuming because he hadn't taken any action, despite their group being wealthy enough to compete with guilds from other countries. But he couldn't resist joining the bidding war. Suddenly, Bei blamed the monitor screen again, feeling relieved that the auction wasn't over yet. Now Bei seemed eager to follow the auction's progress. Before unveiling the next item, Lu Feng stated that when people reached level 20 and chose a job, they could upgrade to intermediate professions at level 50. The third item he auctioned related to professional upgrades. As he presented a small box, a bright light immediately dazzled the eyes. Inside the box was a B-level skeleton head item. The crystal might not have any skills, but it replaced the Holy Grail item for a warrior who reached level 50 and needed to become an intermediate warrior. The bidding price for the skull crystal was 5 million. Once again, everyone became excited to give their best bid since every guild had a swordsmaster. The bidding for the skull crystal reached 7 million. Senior Lin thought someone could greatly strengthen a mid-level warrior with that item. So after some thought, the bespectacled officer raised his hand and bid 10 million. But suddenly, Wang Meng also raised his hand and offered 15 million. As a result, Wang Meng and Officer Lin conflicted because Wang Meng indirectly intended to snatch the good item from Officer Lin. So the officer wouldn't back down, he immediately raised the bid to 18 million. Wang Meng didn't want to lose and increased the bid to 20 million. They continued to compete, raising the price to get the crystal until suddenly, they offered 35 million, far beyond what the Acqq or Huo guilds could offer. Everyone was shocked that the guild dared to offer such a high bid. They were also curious why Bei, the representative of the Icebreaker Guild, decided to participate in the auction again after leaving abruptly earlier. They suspected the kid had received some information and didn't want to overlook the auction. Lu Feng announced the highest bid. If no one dared to bid higher after the third countdown, Lu Feng would release the crystal to the Icebreaker Guild. He also congratulated the guild's representative. Now, for the main part, Lu Feng announced to everyone that the fourth and fifth items would be sold together as a package. Wang Meng was determined in his heart, even though the last item was a god-level item, he wouldn't bid, as it would make him as bad as a dog. Especially since his companion said Lu Feng would probably add trash items to this last auction, revealing his true, ugly face. The last item this time was the Demon Ring, an A-level item. Its feature was to increase magic by 3%, and it also had a hidden feature to cast intermediate level magic once every 30 days. Its accompanying item was the Ice Flame Elixir, ranked C. After drinking the potion, half the body would become cold and the other half hot. The potion also had a hidden feature. When mixed with a drop of magic recovery agent, it could instantly restore magic value. Luo knew that the magic ring was an item only mages could use before level 20, so casting their magic would be terrifying for mages. Currently, there were no potions on the market that could instantly restore mana value, so the product Lu Feng offered was a rare treasure for mage jobs. She believed this auction would also yield a huge profit. Lu Feng immediately announced the starting price for this final auction at 10 million. This was the last chance, so everyone had to cherish it. Unexpectedly, the first person to speak up was Wang Meng. The man immediately bid 20 million. Grandma Lin also immediately offered a bid of 30 million. Bei didn't want to lose, the kid offered a bid of 40 million. People were amazed by the sudden increase of 10 million yuan. They realized this was no longer an auction they could participate in. People in that big guild were truly wealthy and powerful. Wang Meng dared to raise the price to 40 million. Bei dared to bid higher at 50 million. Then Grandma Lin dared to offer a price of 60 million. Wang Meng was astonished to hear such a high bid. After buying the Yui dagger, his budget was only 60 million, and he couldn't bid more than that. Bei also received advice from his private servant, so he gave up raising the auction price further. Then Lu Feng asked if there was another price increase. This young man counted down until nearly reached 60 million for the third time. At this moment, suddenly the Lin officer spoke up and said on behalf of the Acqq Guild that he dared to offer a bid of 75 million. Everyone in the place was immediately amazed to see the officer from the Acqq Guild. With such a high price, no one dared to bid higher. After the auction ended, Lu Feng descended the stage and prepared to leave the auction room. But his steps had to stop when suddenly the hologram screen showed the silhouette of a large man very familiar in Lu Feng's memory. The figure of Austin appeared in the hologram communication, saying that he was already late for the auction. Most people in the room would be delighted to see Austin, known as a superhero, and their savior. But Senior Lin was surprised and asked why their president could appear in the auction room. While everyone was amazed at Austin's appearance, they didn't notice Lu Feng's face suddenly turning pale at the sight of Austin. But in an instant, this young man managed to fix his expression and said that he hoped next time, Mr. Savior would also participate in the next edition of Luo's private collection auction. Lu Feng realized he had to stay calm and not let the monster see his weaknesses. But Mr. Austin just smiled in a very eerie way, saying that he had a question for Lu Feng. Austin asked Lu Feng, have they met before? With furrowed brows, Lu Feng attempted to remain calm as he replied, it's impossible. But Mr. Austin continued to stare at him with an odd smile, saying he remembered all the events in Black Ruin City. Lu Feng tried to evade by claiming he didn't understand what the large-bodied man was talking about. Austin smiled even wider, and then suddenly the entire building shook violently. Explosions and thunder roared as lightning struck the entire structure. Austin's original body emerged from behind a pile of clouds in the sky, continuing to declare that he would wipe out everyone in the building. Austin's typically friendly figure now looked terrifying and ruthless. He shot forward like a rocket, crashing directly toward the auction building. After the building was demolished by Austin's impact, Lu Feng slowly tried to crawl out from the ruins. Seeing the young man still struggling to survive, Austin approached him with eyes full of hatred. Suddenly, Austin fired a laser-like power directly at Lu Feng. The young man was severely injured as he didn't have time to dodge. But suddenly, Austin was in front of him, delivering a powerful blow to his chest. Lu Feng took the brunt of the attack, and he might not survive. The young man opened his eyes abruptly after experiencing a tremendous shock in his dream. Lu Feng sat up immediately, gasping for breath. It had been 3 days since the auction, but he still had terrifying dreams about Austin. Yet, on that day, Austin had only thanked him because the young man had saved his deputy in Ice and Fire City. Because of that, he liked Lu Feng. The auction that day went smoothly. Mr. Austin found no anomalies and made no attacks. The young man managed to obtain everything he wanted quite easily. He pulled out a suitcase from under his bed and extracted 2 valuable items from it. One was a level S water crystal coffee, capable of replicating all level A items, but its price reached 90 million Awaken coins. The second item was an A-level charging device, able to charge any electrical device quickly, priced at 20 million Awaken coins. Additionally, the replicating crystal had a hidden ability. It was very useful because S-class disposable props used by the majority of beginners could now be replicated by him. The young man looked at the hologram screen and realized he was now at level 30. It was time to bid farewell to basic and side skills. He would soon change jobs when he entered the new shadow world. Lu Feng realized that Austin was too strong to face monsters wanting to become gods like him. To protect all his comrades, Lu Feng realized he had to become stronger immediately. At this moment, he suddenly received a message from little Loli thanking him for his gifts. The little girl couldn't believe how generous Lu Feng was, giving her so many dolls and an A-level magic ring capable of increasing all magic attributes by 7%. The hidden feature in the ring was intermediate level instant magic that could be used 20 times. Lu Feng replied that the little witch didn't need to thank him. By adding a 5 million won labor cost, Lu Feng had already deducted it directly from little Loli's account. Ply immediately shocked Cao Dao because it meant Lu Feng had hacked her account again, making Cao Dao curse angrily at him. On the other hand, Mr. Zhao received a gravity chip level B as a reward. Equipped with a mechanical axe feature with a 15% attack power and a certain chance to perform a move during an attack. Mr. Zhao thanked Lu Feng for treating him well. Meanwhile, Leo received a level A crazy water item, which could immediately enter a super crazy condition when used. Leo looked at the small chip, wondering if it could destroy the world. Then there was Ling Yu, who managed to get a practical suppressor with poison effects, which could also double the damage against giant beasts. Ling Yun immediately called Lu Feng after receiving the gift to say that he had received it but refused to be sent gifts again. Suddenly, Miss Anya's assistant opened the door to the young man's room and quickly said that her boss was waiting downstairs, so Lu Feng was asked to hurry and go to the car with her because Miss Anya didn't like to wait. Lu Feng asked the secretary not to rush him because he would be the CEO of Anya's husband and would be the first to fire the secretary. Lu Feng's joking tone silenced the female secretary. After they comfortably settled in the luxurious limousine, Anya immediately commented that the young man was very slow. Lu Feng instead said it was usually Anya who made others wait, so now was the CEO's turn to experience the feeling of being inferior. But he didn't forget to thank Anya for being willing to help him now. Anya explained that she was helping the young man as a thank you for saving her in Ice and Fire City before and as a reward for what he had given her, an extraordinary heirloom with thunder and lightning effects. Lu Feng was pleased that the girl liked it, though inside, he was surprised because he only considered the sea-level finger tiger he bought from the street stand as extraordinary. Once again, Anya emphasized that she was helping the young man purely out of gratitude, so once this was over, they would be even. Lu Feng shook his head immediately and commented that their president was indeed ruthless. Anya confirmed that they were not familiar with each other, so Lu Feng shouldn't act familiar with her. However, boldly, Lu Feng said that's what made Anya look more attractive. Instantly, Anya's face turned red, and she was shocked, so she could only scold Lu Feng for his endless shamelessness. Anya thought maybe that's why shameless people like Lu Feng were more dangerous because, on the other hand, he could also become the most reliable person. From the luxurious car, they switched to a helicopter. Anya's secretary was surprised that the young man could make their boss try so hard to take him somewhere with their private helicopter. But the secretary was confused, asking where they were going. Moreover, the secretary could see that her boss was very special to Lu Feng. She wondered if their boss would marry a shameless stalker like Lu Feng. Lu Feng noticed the curious expression on the secretary's face, so he would tell the girl that he was going to that place to do something very important. Finally, they arrived at the ruins of a hidden temple deep in the forest. Slowly, the helicopter landed around the temple. When the helicopter landed, it was clear to see many miners around the area. One of the workers reported to Anya that after continuous excavation, they had reached the bottom of the entire temple structure. Anya replied that she understood. They continued their journey to the innermost corner of the temple. Among the walls with small gaps, Lu Feng took out his magic cube. The secretary asked if this was indeed the place Lu Feng was looking for, as the CEO had invested a lot of money in excavating the monument. Without needing to answer the secretary's question, Lu Feng placed the small cube in the middle of the hole, and it immediately spread until it was entirely illuminated by a beautiful blue light. Then, a portal to another dimension was slowly created behind the ancient temple wall. The secretary was surprised that a secret door could emerge from below. Lu Feng only said that some high-level shadow gates would only appear in specific locations. He advised Anya not to follow him because he would return soon. With that, he jumped into the portal, leaving Anya with a silent warning to be careful. After exiting the portal, Lu Feng appeared in front of an ancient tower that towered high. It was the Shadow World Tower, which had a sage level. An old man emerged from the shadows, asking why a young man like Lu Feng could appear there. Suddenly, another figure in all black robes swiftly landed before Lu Feng. The figure in black robes seemed unfriendly towards the newcomer, immediately asking Lu Feng's purpose for being there. Calmly, the youth replied that he had come to the Sage Tower because it was the only shadow world where one could obtain hidden professions. The black-robed wizard stared at him closely, stating that the youth was greedy and the mortality rate in that world was 85%. However, the white-robed wizard merely said that although Lu Feng was a reckless newcomer, he would still show him the list of hidden professions. Now, before Lu Feng, several hidden professions were displayed. After thinking for a moment, the youth chose the classless profession. Both wizards were surprised as it was the most challenging test in their Sage Tower. If failed, the challenger would be immediately destroyed. Lu Feng simply smiled widely and thanked them. Seeing this challenger's lack of hesitation, the white-robed wizard opened the door and allowed him to start from there. The friendlier white wizard also prayed for Lu Feng to have a little luck. As the youth stepped through the gate, the white wizard told Mr. Blackie that among the thousands who came to challenge the classless profession in the past, only one absconded with an S-class item. However, he still hoped this challenger could perform a miracle. But the black wizard said the youth would soon die. If the newcomer didn't die on the first level, then Mr. Blackie would become the servant of the white wizard. After opening the gate, Lu Feng entered the sky arena. It was vast, and the system immediately explained that the strength test would soon begin, so the challengers were asked to prepare. A giant monster slowly entered the arena from the other side. Lu Feng immediately became wary upon seeing his opponent. The system explained that the requirement for this test was to defeat the Cyclops whose strength never ends. Without further ado, the one-eyed monster swung its large and sharp club. Fortunately, Lu Feng managed to evade the attack in time. However, he was overwhelmed because the Cyclops was surprisingly fast despite its massive size. Nevertheless, Lu Feng continued to evade the creature as if toying with it. Two tower-guarding wizards watched their fight from a giant crystal ball. The white wizard was amazed at Lu Feng's tactics, while Mr. Blackie laughed at the youth for being merely a plaything for the Cyclops. He was sure Lu Feng would soon die given his opponent's cunningness. When the Cyclops began to lower its guard and bow its body, Lu Feng swiftly moved to stab its eye with his ice sword. This attack hindered the Cyclops' vision, but it quickly cleared the ice from its eyes. Next, the monster approached Lu Feng, who stood behind it. Realizing his opponent getting closer, Lu Feng stabbed both his swords into the floor, turning the entire area into ice. As the monster struggled to find its footing, Lu Feng kicked it until it fell out of the arena. The system announced that the strength test had ended and the portal to the next test opened. The white-robed wizard, observing the match, commented that the youth was clever enough to handle the Cyclops in such a way. However, Mr. Blackie seemed very nervous, stating that although he passed the first level, he would only agree to become the white wizard's servant for an hour. Only after passing the second level would he agree to serve the white wizard for life. He accused Lu Feng of cheating in the first level and relying solely on his strength. He warned that the next level was the beginning of hell. In the next test, the youth faced a very long racetrack. The system explained that the speed test would begin, so the challengers were asked to prepare. The requirement for the race was to win against the wind spirit, Sylph. It was an entity capable of creating very strong winds while running. Therefore, if the challenger fell off the racetrack, they would fall into the curse of hell. The white wizard said the wind spirit could reach the speed of sound in 5 seconds, and every 10 seconds, the speed would increase by 5%. The black wizard worried that Lu Feng was an awakener without a profession. Even if he were a high-level assassin, adding all agility attributes, he still wouldn't be able to defeat Sylph. The black wizard was confident Lu Feng would soon fall into hell. The countdown for the start of the test began. Both parties prepared at the starting line. However, before that, Sylph scolded the weak human by its side. It considered racing with humans akin to racing with snails, an insult to a great entity like Sylph. Yet, it was also the most glorious moment in Lu Feng's life, so he was asked to cherish this moment. When the race finally began, much to everyone's surprise, Lu Feng swiftly swung his sword to kill Sylph with his strongest technique. Even Sylph herself couldn't comment as she had to disappear immediately. The black-robed wizard went into a rage upon seeing the youth take such a reckless step to kill Sylph. He deemed it very unfair. However, the white wizard said Lu Feng must have used his world's technology, but because they hadn't announced any specific rules from the beginning and didn't restrict challengers from killing competitors, such a method couldn't be considered cheating. And because the youth was the only participant left in the race, no matter how fast or slow he was, Lu Feng would still win. The youth only needed to run like an ordinary human to reach the finish line and receive a notification from the system that the speed test was over. Thus, the teleportation gate to the next test opened. Mr. Blackie was very angry to see Lu Feng's victory. The black wizard even cursed and was convinced that Lu Feng would not succeed in the third test. If the challenger were to win, Mr. Black would agree to be a servant to the white wizard for 3 lifetimes. Seeing the challenger's performance this time, the white wizard asked his companion to stop betting like that. The next test is a policy challenge that will begin shortly. Right now, Lu Feng is standing inside a cube flying above the magma ocean. The test requirements of 8 doors correspond to 8 items, which must solve ancient mysteries. The duration of this mission is 15 minutes per door. The challenger must complete all items to release the cube that will be eaten by the larva. Currently, Lu Feng faces 8 objects that have been mysteries since ancient times. The white wizard said, in simple terms, each item should not take more than 2 minutes to solve. A high-level cube takes at least 6 minutes and requires at least 3,000 operations. Meanwhile, the 7 tangram chains are deadly traps because they require very high focus to handle. If the young man fails in the mission, an explosion that could destroy a city with millions of people will occur. Mr. Blackie said this test is beyond human limits. Except for high-level awakeners with mystery-solving professions, everyone dies in this test. The white wizard worries that the young man will soon die, but Mr. Black reminds him not to be too naive because cunning is useless in this test. The hourglass in the exam room rotates, signaling the start of the exam. The large cube slowly falls into the magma, but Lu Feng casually takes the tangram chain and the high-level mystery cube. The wizards were surprised because the young man immediately took 2 very difficult items to solve. They were curious about Lu Feng's surprising way of thinking, but they also considered the young man too reckless for operating 2 very difficult items simultaneously. But the wizards didn't expect that the very difficult tangram chain could be solved in just 46 seconds. They shouted in frustration because they believed Lu Feng was doing cube magic while simultaneously solving 7 tangram chains. Then, Lu Feng only needed 2 minutes and 27 seconds to solve the Pandora mystery cube. Then he needed 5 minutes 12 seconds to solve the high-level magic cube, and this young man only needed 1 minute 16 seconds to solve the ancient Babylon chain. The observers were stunned by his defense performance this time. They even thought the young man was a robot. In 10 minutes and 20 seconds, Lu Feng completed all the mystery items in the test, causing the mysterious cube to stop falling into the lava. Mr. Blackie was amazed because without any skills, only with bare hands and human brains, Lu Feng managed to pass this very complicated test. Even the white wizard argued that this was the best result in history. Because the wisdom test went smoothly, Lu Feng stepped into the next gate. The young man thought he had practiced many times to complete all those complicated missions, so he could complete all the missions even while closing his eyes. As he entered the next test gate, the white wizard asked Mr. Blackie if he would bet on this test too. Mr. Blackie answered loudly, "Of course." In the next test, if the young man passes, then Mr. Blackie will truly be willing to become a dog. The next test was a physical challenge, but this time it was also completed by Lu Feng in a short time. So Mr. Black had to fulfill his bet and turn into a dog. While barking furiously, Mr. Black was annoyed because the young man could endure even before the time reached 24 hours. The white wizard explained that because the young man found the truth in this world, the land of the sky, and was able to destroy the land, even Lu Feng was able to let the sun enter his heart and feel ready to purify the whole world. So this time the white wizard asked Mr. Black to return to his original form. But Mr. Black vehemently stated that this was the last test. If Lu Feng does not die, then the black wizard will never change back into human form. So the white wizard warned him to maintain his current form. The sensory test will begin soon, so Lu Feng is asked to prepare. The requirement to complete this test is to defeat all the shadow world professions. From behind the pillars of the temple, dozens of people emerge with sharp eyes and intentions to kill, ready to attack and test Lu Feng simultaneously.